Let's consider some possible solutions to this exercise. I'm going to come up with some, but of course yours are probably equally valid. If you have any questions about what you've come up with, please feel free to contact me. So first we need to find some examples of lists of colors. So one example that comes to mind would be the rainbow. So the order is important. In fact, I'm not sure what the colors of the rainbow are, but if I look this up, here they are. You can see different 7 colors of the rainbow in different images, and the order of those colors is certainly going to be important to any solution we come up with. Another example might be the colors on some kind of a palette. So let's suppose I want to paint a room and use colors in a particular order. So that also would be a good use, perhaps, of a list of colors. Another example might be a traffic light. It goes from green to yellow to red, and so the order is going to be important. And if we think of an example of colors where maybe the order is important, but also there could be duplicates, how about the color of eyes of people as they walk into a room? So that might be, for example, blue and then brown again, and then blue and blue and blue and green and so on. So here we certainly see duplicates. The rainbow doesn't have duplicates. Wanting to paint a room different colors in a particular order, I might want to paint over something in a color I've used before. Traffic light has no duplicates, but order is important. And then we have the color of eyes of people as they walk into the room. How about list of account? So, when would the order of accounts be important? Perhaps a bank wants to keep track its accounts by opening date. And so maybe I have my first account that ever opened at the bank, second account, and so on. If you have a checking account, often you can specify what happens if you overdraw the account and money is taken from some other account. So another example might be a list of accounts from which funds should be taken should the primary account overdraw. Now, neither of these has any duplicates, but certainly the order is important in both based on the way they were specified. So that's probably enough of that. Let's talk about the next problem. We have a roulette wheel. And if you look up roulette wheel, and there's a link to it on the page there, you'll see that it has numbers that go, let's say, from 0 to 36 or something like that. And what we'd like to do is keep track of the order in which these numbers show up on the wheel. So maybe 13 shows up, and then 24, and then perhaps 0, and then maybe 13 shows up again, and so on. And the question that's being asked on the exercise is, okay, this is a list of something, but what should go inside the angle brackets? Well, we can take a look at what the types of these elements are. And we see things like 13, 24, and 0, and those are all integers. So it seems list of integer might be the right result. And so I might use this. And this can work for some roulette wheels. Unfortunately, some wheels have 00, 000, and so on, in which case we can't really use list of integer because we can't tell the difference from an integer point of view between a single 0, 2 zeros, and so on. So for some roulette wheels, you might have to have list of string in those cases. Okay, the next problem. Can we think of an example where list of Boolean is useful? So the thing to remember is that Booleans have two values, and those two values, true and false, could be used to represent anything that has two values. The most common example, at least that comes to my mind, is a coin toss. A coin toss, sorry. And so a coin toss has either heads or tails as the outcome, and we can use the list of Boolean to record whether each toss in turn is a heads or not. So we might see, for example, true, true, false, true, which would indicate that it was heads, heads, tails, heads. So there's an example of list of Boolean, and perhaps you came up with something else, but there's one for you to look at. Finally, we're asked to consider, okay, if we have a list of something, what might we want to do to it? So I just want to brainstorm. I'll just think out loud about things I might think about doing. Well, I might want to add something to the list. And I might want to add to the beginning, or perhaps to the end, or maybe even in the middle. A list often represents things you might want to do, so I may want to delete something from the list. And the thing I delete might be anywhere, the beginning, the end, and so on. I might want to ask the question, does my list contain something? For example, if I have a list of heads and tails by way of Booleans that are true and false, I might want to know whether my list ever contains false. There's other things I may want to do. I may want to join two lists together, or determine what's in one list but not in the other. And you may have thought of other operations too. What we're going to do is we're going to develop an implementation of list in the next module in the course, and in this module we're going to be using lists for various purposes.